Maya, 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 Maya,
Alo? Salut! Sunt eu, un haiduc și te rog, iubirea mea, primește fericirea. Alo? Alo? Sunt eu, Picasso, ți-am dat bip și sunt voinic, dar să știi, nu-ți cer nimic. Vrei să pleci, dar numai ei, numai ei, numai ei, chipul tău.
Greetings, Uncle Travelling Matt here, reporting to you live from my hotel room. But it's not a hotel room in Romania or Moldova or Ukraine or Transnistria, but it's actually back in Britain. And that's because when I made all these videos for the Romania trip, there was one day when I forgot to do the audio. And so I'm catching up now, and the hotel room that I'm actually in now is in Bishop Stortford, so it's a mile or two from Stansted Airport because I'm flying off on my next trip tomorrow. But that will be another series of videos. What I'm going to talk to you about today is day 11 of my trip in the Greater Moldova, Greater Romania region, and it's all about my trip to Old Orhei in Moldova. And the day began, it began rather negatively because what had happened is, it was a complete and utter disaster at the beginning. Thomas went clubbing, and I said, look, don't come back too late, all right. He'd never been clubbing before in his life. It was a first for him because he couldn't get in England. So he goes clubbing in to where the lady in the restaurant recommended. I said, don't come back too late. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, he wasn't there. And I did that thing that parents do. I got very worried, and I rang him, and he didn't answer, and I rang, and he wasn't answering. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? So I couldn't sleep, so I went down to the house very early, and the monastery was open, and I actually went to the monastery by the guest house, which is actually very interesting for me. It's the monastery. I'm going to put the name of it in the chat, but it's the first place where I ever went in and found an icon that really moved me. And before I'd just seen them as like kind of pictures of Jesus's, but that one, it was the first time I saw an icon as a kind of doorway to God. And so I went back to that icon and I prayed that he would be all right. And then I walked down to where the nightclub was to see if he was like lying in a ditch somewhere. He wasn't. And then really worried, thinking, oh my God, what do I do? And on the way back, I rang him and he picked up and he's like, oh, no, what do you want? And I just went ballistic at him and said, what the fuck are you? All that kind of stuff. And of course he was, he'd got drunk and gone to stay at some people's house who he'd met there. So there we were. And I was in tears, and I'm like, never do that to me again. And he was, I'm sorry, I didn't. And and it's seriously right, because he probably had an awful hangover as well, and he didn't want to be woken up at 7 o'clock in the morning. But there we are. So not the best start to the day, and of course after that I was up and, but tired. And what I thought I'd do is I'd hire a car. So I went to the car. There was several car hire places nearby, and all of them, the cars were all booked out. And of course, what had happened is it was like the height of the summer, and it was a Saturday or a Sunday, forget which one. Anyway, it was the kind of day when everyone wants a car, so there were no cars to be hired. I'm like, oh, bugger, what do I do? And then out of the blue, Vitaly got in touch. And Vitaly was, he's a friend of a friend. So my friend Ferial, who some people may remember, walked to Jerusalem with me at Christmas. Vitaly was a guy she went to university with in Greenwich years ago, and she'd stayed friends with. And when she knew I was coming to Romania and Moldova, she says, "Oh, you should get in touch with Vitaly." And in fact, it was him who'd said, "Oh, you're going on a great Romania trip." And so I sat, drinking tea and eating in the centre of Chisinau, and then he came in his car, picked me up, and we went off somewhere. And where we went was Old Orhei, and that was one of the places I'd planned to go on my trip. Anyway, so it was good that, it was good that I went. And he was excellent company. Now, Vitaly is a TV producer from Moldovan State TV. And he was, a really nice, intelligent conversationalist. We talked a lot about politics. I have to say, we were not on the same page. He is on the right, and I am most definitely on the left. But we managed to keep it civil and have a decent conversation nonetheless, which is, in my opinion, what matters. If you can keep things civil. You don't have to agree all the time with people. So, we drove up to this Old Orhei, which is one of the premier sites of Moldova, and it's important, or it's noteworthy both for its natural setting. So there's this river that curves round, and it's like half a gorge. So there are steep cliffs on one side, and it's kind of flat on the other. And in this big curve, and my friend Alex did a walk of the whole curve. There are numerous historical sites, and it was great having the car because we could just go and visit them. It was so hot as well, it would have been way too hot to walk. It was ridiculously hot. And the first one we went to was an excavated bathhouse from, I'm just trying to think what era it was. It was like a Muslim era. I'm thinking, was it like the Mongols? Or, that kind of, I don't know if the Mongols got that far. Yeah, so it was this wonderful bathhouse by the village, and we walked around that, and then went on the top, and there was incredible views on the top, all around the valley, and that was like a palace cum fortress. And then we went down to the bottom where you had to leave your car, and there was a museum about Old Orhei, so we looked at that. And then most people, they walk up to the monastery. Now, we were a bit lazy, and there was a taxi, and the taxi was like these locals with a horse and cart. And so we actually went on this horse and cart up to the monastery, which was wonderful. It was really nice, and it went a back way. It didn't go on the main walk. We walked back. Up to as close to the monastery as they could get, and it was just wonderful. There was a cross on its own, which is we had a photo taken out. That's one of the sites, and then we went to this monastery and we stayed and prayed and meditated in there, and then on the way back, there close by there was a wonderful cave church. I would have liked to spend more time in with a monk in it as well, and it was just fantastic. And that was Old Orhei, and it's well worth going. It's one of the highlights of Moldova. I mean, my friend Alex said how good it was, and it's, I thought it was an excellent place to go. And, going with a local as well gave it so much more power. I mean, like, he pointed things out, like there was a very ramshackle building that we went past on the way, and he said, "Oh, that's a women's prison." And I'm like, I would never have known that. And, we went through villages, and he talked about, like, the history and the culture of Moldova. He's a Romanian, so he's more on the Romanian nationalist side, so not particularly pro-Russian culture, but he's he's also intelligent and educated, and he had lots to say about Britain as well. So that was that, and that was my day in Old Orhei, except we got back, and he took Thomas and I to the railway station so we could buy our tickets for the train the next day. He tried to help us to buy them before, but we needed our passports to do it. So we bought our tickets for going to Bucharest, and outside the railway station is a monument to all the people who'd been deported during World War II, which was really interesting. And it's like an anti-Soviet monument, but built in the Soviet style. And we had a good look around the railway station as well, which, the Soviets did railway stations well. And so it was all very pleasant, and he dropped us off back at our hotel, and we had a meal in an Andes. Andes is a chain of Moldovan restaurants. We had an Andes nearby, and yes, Thomas and I stuffed our faces, and he got over the incredibly bad hangover that he'd had from being a very naughty boy the night before. It's me, Uncle Travelling Matt, saying, keep travelling.
Numai ei, chipul tău și dragostea din tei Mi-amintesc de ochii tăi, ei. Vrei să pleci, dar numai ei Numai ei Numai ei, chipul tău și dragostea din tei Mi-amintesc de ochii tăi, ei.
Te sun, să-ți spun ce simt acum. Alo, iubirea mea, sunt eu, fericirea.